I'm here at Montgomery Power Sports, standing next to all the brand new Indians. But today, we're going to talk about a bike that hasn't seen a showroom floor since 1946. Yes, it's an Indian, and yes, it belongs to Steve McLaughlin. Hi, Steve.
How are you?
So, how long have you had this bike?
I got this about 7 years ago. We got it from a museum that went bankrupt. And they tried to give it back to the old guy who donated it. He was about 90, and he wanted to turn around and sell it. So we finally finagled it from Buffalo, New York to here, and rode it around a little bit and decided that it needed a top-end job. Okay, we purchased this for $18,000. Okay. We put another $10,000 in it, and a lot of hand labor, because we tore this bike down to every single nut, bolt, and washer all the way. And I got to be Hawaii's only Indian mechanic at the time.
Out of necessity?
Out of necessity. And the one thing that helps you become an Indian mechanic is the official Indian Riding Handbook.
Oh man, is this from 1946?
Yeah, that's the real thing. And it's very explicit. It tells you your valve settings, your ignition wire, in case you have to take the ignition apart.
Steve, should you be carrying this unique piece of an American memorabilia in your back pocket?
Well, I have spares. like everything.
You are an Indian rider. Here you go.
It's so true. I have spares for everything. The most unique thing about old Indians is that they were built with common automotive hardware. Every nut and bolt and bearing in this bike, I can go down to Napa or one of the car parts and get them.
Is that because it was produced around the time of the war?
This particular model was. These were the only ones allowed to be produced during World War II for civilian population. A lot of cars and motorcycle companies weren't allowed to for war production, but Indian was allowed to because so many parts of it were so common. For instance, the frame is brazed, it's not welded. That means that you can heat it up with a torch, pull the parts apart, put more parts back on, pretty much yourself in your garage. In the early days, Indian pretty much invented most of the modern motorcycle parts.
Because there was nothing established.
Right, right. Nobody knew where to put the shifter or the throttle. So what they wanted to do was make it like a car. So it's a foot clutch, and it's not a suicide clutch. You know, that's, I don't know where that got started, but if you had a suicide clutch, nobody'd be alive today to tell you about it. The worst nightmare on these type of shifters, even with the old Harleys, is an uphill left-hand turn.
Oh, tell me about it.
Because if you had to put your foot down, that was it. That's where you went.
That was why they called them suicide.
So the clutch is friction. It sets where you put it.
So you could put your foot down?
Yeah. If I'm on a hill, I can, there's no spring in the throttle either. It stays where you put it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you open the throttle, you're sitting on a hill, you open the throttle, you rock the clutch out to where it's balanced, you can take your hands and feet off the bike.
That makes so much sense, Steve. How many other things are on this bike that should be on modern bikes, in your opinion?
I like the hand shifter. Now, on modern bikes, we've put hand shift kits on them, but they're still hooked to the modern motorcycle shift pattern, which is first, neutral, second, third, fourth. And if you want to get back into neutral at a stop sign, it's, you know, all the way back down through neutral. With the regular hand shift, that's first, that's second, back into third. If I want to put it in neutral, I just pop it up in neutral. It shifts like a car.
Is this a steering damper, this thing with the big Indian head in it?
That's one of the best things ever made.
Honda, tell me about that.
Yeah, Honda 90s used to copy these because they made so much sense. But that's a steering dampener that when I'm going down the highway, I crank it down when I can relax. When I come into the parking lot, I uncrank it. Now I can steer all over the parking lot.
Is that stock, the Indian picture?
No,
in there?
I put that on there.
That looks good.
Yeah.
Does this have an electric starter?
Indian never made an electric starter for production.
No.
But they made space for it. So there's no modification to the outside of the bike. You can't tell it has an electric starter along with the kickstarter.
What do you say to the Indian purists that go, Steve, what are you doing? You're turning this thing into some kind of Frankenstein monster. What's your answer?
Let's just say, on the way to the motorcycle meet, when we're all piling out of the restaurant to go ride, and you're sitting kickstarting that SOB, and we're already down the road having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? It also seems to me that the spirit in which this was designed, you are doing.
Pretty much, we tried to follow through with what we felt they had in mind and what we read, what we knew about them. They would have gone to 12 volt. They would have put an electric start.
Now, the overall styling of it, you know, we stand here, you know, 20 feet from the new Indians. What's your impression of the job that they did?
I think they're pretty faithful to it. The fenders are it. You know, it's a very good, faithful reproduction of the look and feel of what Indian was and what it would be right now. I think if they made Studebaker right now, it'd have that little round point in the nose.
Oh, man. So, do you think you'd ever let this go?
No, no. They'll have to pry it out of my hands.